too. They're in the heat of the game, it's clear. He's a champ when all else disappears. Rally the team with a wink and a cheer. He's the leader that everyone fears. Quickly, it's a real heater. Once my friend, he's a locker room leader. In the chaos, he's the center, turning us into believers.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Sunday night. It is 7 p.m. Once again, it is time for the Locker Room Breakdown. This is your Rasslin recap for the week, where we look at everything that happened on Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, and we are going to preview what is to come just a little bit later on. Tonight, the episode is Blood Feud, and that is really where we are at. So much animosity, so much bad blood between so many people, so many blood feuds, and with Survivor Series War Games just around the corner, with the way things are going, you could book 2 women's and 2 men's War Games matches and still give yourself a 4.5 to 5 hour PLE. And ladies and gentlemen, what a week we had in wrestling between Raw and SmackDown. And let's jump right to Buffalo, New York, which was the home of Monday Night Raw. And 2 weeks ago, we saw the return, or 3 weeks ago, we saw the return of both Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer as they confronted the Judgment Day. This past Monday, we started it off with Stephanie Vaquer going out to the ring, cutting that promo. We know that she is excited to be back. We know that there is a South American tour coming up in about a month, a little less. And they will be going through Stephanie Vaquer's home country of Chile. And ladies and gentlemen, do we get Stephanie Vaquer getting that title shot there? We can only wait and see. But she came out to the ring, called out Liv Morgan right off the bat, and said, "Get down here, come and be the champion you claim to be." Liv came out to address everything at the top of the ramp, flanked, of course, by Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez, the women of the Judgment Day. There's part of Team 1 for War Games. And ladies and gentlemen, she said, I don't have to come out there. She said, I am a champion for myself. I'm not here for the people. I do this for me. And we all know and we all complained that Liv hadn't defended the title from WrestleMania until SummerSlam. And yes, it was the Raw after SummerSlam that we got both Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer. Liv said she didn't care about the criticisms around her. Why should she? She's able to have a lengthy reign as the champion. The championship becomes an attraction. And I know I have criticized others for doing the same thing, calling it an aesthetic. And I guess in this case, yes, it is a bit of an aesthetic, but it's also an attraction. And Liv is there week in, week out. Stephanie still calling for Liv to come to the ring, say what she's got to say to her face. Which we all know how this was going to go. We all knew this was going to play out to the numbers game. But instead of getting the ring surrounded, Liv Raquel, and Roxanne all stepped through the same set of ropes, which would have given Stephanie Vicaire an easy out through the back, through the sides of the ring. And there are times that maybe you need the hero, the baby face, to escape. Stephanie took the fight to them, getting the jump on them. But yes, the numbers caught up. And then we also got Becky Lynch coming out to make the save, which really is no surprise. Chris Parrish coming in saying so much to be positive about in WWE this week. Absolutely, there is. This was a fantastic week. Thank you for stopping in, brother. Much appreciated as always. But yes, Becky Lynch came out to make the save. She and Stephanie did fight off the Judgment Day. They got back. Becky Lynch, a former women's champion, has held the women's world heavyweight, has held the undisputed WWE Women's Championship, and is also a former Intercontinental and Tag Team Champion. Becky Lynch has held all of the women's gold except for the WWE US Women's title in the WWE. Becky Lynch, if you count her NXT championship, would be a Grand Slam champion in WWE. But this is where things get really interesting because we know that both Stephanie and Becky want that title match. They want that title shot. And I know we are all believing that a triple threat is inevitable and it's the way to go. I don't think we're going to get the triple threat. I'm going to be honest with you. I think we are going to build. And I think you're going to see Becky Lynch maybe get the title shot a little bit further down the road. Because she doesn't need to come back and get right into the title picture. We need to get Stephanie Vicaire back in the ring and back competing. We're going to cover that part in just a little bit. But yes, after they fought the Judgment Day off, Becky and Stephanie came face to face and continue to be in each other's faces, continuing to argue. Stephanie coming to the backstage area in an interview later saying, I don't need her help. I don't need you. I can do this on my own. Becky saying, you're welcome. Oh, you don't need me? You've got 3-on-1 against you. Believe me, I've been a part of this. So, I do believe we are going to get a number one contenders match Sunday, September 6th. Sunday night's main event, Atlanta, Georgia, which I'm sure you can join the PLE Patrol for that evening. Again, I'm sure that night this show will be preempted, though I may try and bring it a little bit earlier in the day. This really set the tone for Raw. It was going to be aggressive. It was going to be in your face. It was going to be physical. It was going to be a madhouse, so to speak. Do we get that number one contenders match? I believe we will at Sunday night's main event, though I think that it might be the catalyst for, I mean, you could go to the triple threat. It's just not something I really want to see. I want to see Stephanie Vicaire, especially if we get that a Raw from South America, specifically Santiago, Chile, for that women's championship. I mean, you could have Liv lose in Santiago. You could then have Stephanie defend that title in a triple threat match at Money in the Bank. Or you could then go to Stephanie and Becky one more time at Money in the Bank. And maybe, just maybe, another member of the Judgment Day holds the briefcase. And if Liv isn't the champion, they go out and they claim that match for themselves. A lot of interesting dynamics here to take in with this whole scenario. I cannot wait to see how things build up. And like I said, we are going to discuss Stephanie Vaquer and her in-ring return just a little bit later on. A match from out of nowhere that could have stolen the show. Javon Evans went out to the ring during a commercial break and cut a promo. All of a sudden, he was in the ring. I didn't see an entrance from him last Monday, or maybe I just don't remember. And then all of a sudden, JD McDonough is in the ring. And we get an impromptu Javon versus JD match. Two guys who should be vying for that Intercontinental Championship. And maybe it's time we give JD that fair championship contender credibility that he deserves. And maybe it's time you get the belt to a guy like a JD McDonough. And I know Chad Gable just won it, but I think that could be a very, very fun rivalry as well. Again, I'm still not sold on Javon Evans, though he is starting to reduce the amount of risks or overshooting the risks and starting to work, in my opinion, a little bit safer and a little bit more fluid for his own health and well-being. Again, we did not have a ton of interference. JD McDonough using his kinesiology experience to pick apart the leg of Javon Evans, which takes away the bouncy, the high fly, all of that. So very, very smart on JD McDonough's part. What a match these two had. But it was the match that just really didn't make sense. We know the JD's a heel, Javon is the baby face. And we need to get JD propelled. Yes, Javon Evans won the match, but then continued after his impassioned promo earlier calling out Big Cass, continued to do the same thing, and then proceeds to look up the entryway, allowing Cass to sneak in, get the jump from behind. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Big Cass. This is the guy who is going to catch a flying Javon Evans. You should have had him come down the ramp. You could have gone that route. Yes, he laid waste to Javon, hit him with the East River Crossing, I'm sorry. And then Javon back on the mic. Is that all you got? Come on, big man. So, when, ladies and gentlemen, when are we going to get Big Cass making his in-ring return? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. We have yet to hear anything. Again, though, I don't like this because you've got a big man coming back after how many years away. Yes, he put his time in TNA. He put his time in AEW to get himself back to the WWE. And he's a hard, heavy hitter. But Javon Evans is not the guy to be doing this with. Why are they coming back? This is where you need an Oba Femi to step up. And we're going to get to that. This is what I think is you should have Big Cass coming after an Oba Femi. We'll get to that very, very shortly, actually. So Big Cass goes back in and again just lays waste to Javon Evans. And we also got Corey Graves finally speaking on the return of Big Cass. We know he's been silent. We know there is a previous situation from their past, and I don't know how much of that is playing into it all. Maybe we need to hear from Corey Graves on that subject. All right, so a few weeks ago, we kicked off a Lucha Libre tournament with superstars from Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and AAA to see who would challenge Roman Reigns Monday, September 14th in Mexico City for the World Heavyweight Championship. We are at the semifinals, or we were at the quarterfinal stage, and we started it off with the AAA Cruiserweight Champion and SmackDown's own Rey Fenix taking on El Fiscal, a young man who has only been wrestling for 4 years. 4 years. But a man that Rey Mysterio fought for to get in this tournament. So when you have the GM of your brand, AAA, pushing for you as a 4-year, still fairly wet behind the ears in this industry, to be in this tournament, and you are going to into this tournament on Monday Night Raw, you had better deliver, and deliver they did. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I am not the biggest Lucha fan, but I gotta give credit where credit is due. Phoenix is unbelievable to watch in the ring. El Fiscal put on a hell of a fight. Yes, Rey Fenix won. Rey Fenix is the established name in the WWE. He is the established superstar. He is the Cruiserweight champion. And of course, we all know his brother is in the tournament. And if we are not booking this tournament to get to Penta versus Phoenix, then what are we doing? This is, if that is the route we go, and I'm sure it is, then this is a match that I am okay with. I'm not big on family versus family unless it's organic. So this is for me. But if you've also seen Penta and Phoenix wrestle, whether it was Lucha Underground, whether it's been in AAA, whether it was AEW, whether it was TNA, these two will absolutely tear the house down. And if that match is not the main event of Monday Night Raw in a couple of weeks, then I don't know what they're doing. Unless you're going to open the show with the match of the night. Yes, Phoenix came away with the win, but we saw what El Fiscal was all about. We saw that he is going to be a champion in the future, whether it is AAA, whether he comes up to the main roster and competes on SmackDown or on Raw, or maybe we go to NXT. I don't know. He is going to be a fun superstar to watch in the future. But really, that was all we found out about Fiscal, was that he's been wrestling for 4 years. We didn't get a lot of detail on what he's all about. And anytime I see Fiscal, this is what I'm thinking of. Saving the money. Save the money. Not go out and be money, but save the money. That was my first thought. Unless Fiscal means something different in Mexican, Espanol. And please, to any of our Spanish audience, please let me know. But after this match, we go to another vignette from Lyra Valkyria. And ladies and gentlemen, we saw Lyra at Saturday night's main event where she took Bayley out. And now we're questioning what Bayley's plan truly is. But why are we getting Lyra Valkyria in vignettes? Not on a mic. Not in the ring. But she was talking about her opponent. So yes, we were about to see Lyra Valkyria in the ring as she was challenging Sol Ruka, who she recently lost a match to before this heel turn. And ladies and gentlemen, sorry, I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen, it's just getting a little bit stuffy in here. With both of these women wanting to get back into the Intercontinental Championship picture, I think this was a match that Lyra needed a little bit more. I felt that Sol had gotten hot-shotted to the Women's Intercontinental Championship where Lyra earned her way to do it. Where Lyra did that, proving that she was worthy of being the first Women's Intercontinental Champion. And you look at who Sol has been in the ring with, in the Liv Morgans, the Becky Lynches, the Io Skys, all of that. I think this was a match that Lyra needed to have a little bit more. Her new, darker entrance, looking more like Samara from the Ring movies. I absolutely love it. But we need her to be maybe just a little more off the wall, a little more unhinged. Sol's booking has been confusing as well. She struggled to get a win on the main roster until she defeated Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental title via pinfall. And yes, I should stress that, ladies and gentlemen, she struggled to get legitimate wins via pinfall. She won by disqualification. She won by countout. But she was losing just as much as she won. Sol Ruka came away with the victory in this match. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. Was it the right call, or should Lyra have gone over? Because we do know that Money in the Bank is coming up, and maybe, just maybe, this is where we need Lyra Valkyria to go. We are going to cover a little bit of Money in the Bank because we have to look at who could possibly be in that match a little bit later on. This was a hard-fought match from both women. And ladies, I've said it before, I will say it again. If you are training to be a pro wrestler, watch the WWE Women's Division because these women are killing it. Blood feuds, and this is where we start to see what it's all about on Monday Night Raw. We know Jacob Fatu has said he will follow Roman Reigns, his OTC, his tribal chief. He doesn't take orders from Jimmy and Jay. But backstage, we see them getting in Jacob's face, telling him, we did what you couldn't. Keyword, we. And that is, we are going to bring, or we brought Solo back to the family. We are bringing Solo to Roman tonight. We know that even going back to Clash in Italy, Jacob had gotten in Jay's face saying, I didn't lose to your punk ass. I lost to his. I will follow the tribal chief. Jacob wasn't visibly shaken, but he was left questioning wondering, and we're going to come to that a little bit later on. But on to what I don't think is going to be a blood feud yet. But I think if you were going to look at the past versus the present, Hogan and Macho Man, Punk and Cena, Austin Rock, Triple H Angle, Femi Breaker. Off of the heels of a backstage interview that Kathy Kelly tried to conduct with the Vision, Breaker was asked about Obafemi. Braun Breaker said, anything I have to say to Obafemi, I will say to his face. And he went out to the ring on his own. No Theory, no Paul, no Maxine, no Vision. Of course, no Paul Heyman. He went out to the ring and he called out Obafemi, only to be interrupted by Paul Heyman. This, ladies and gentlemen, was a very, very intriguing segment, setting up what could be a lifelong, a career-long feud, whether it continues in WWE for the next 10 years, whether it spills to other companies in that decade, I don't know. But yes, Paul Heyman came out interrupting, saying, who is the future? We already know he has told Braun, I respect Obafemi. He has Brock Lesnar's blessing, and I will respect Obafemi until you do something to give me reason not to. Obafemi came out to join the party, so to speak, and even broke his Nigerian accent just a little bit, saying, you're asking, who's the future, Paul? You know who the future is. Paul knows who the future is. Brock Lesnar knew who the future was. The WWE Universe knows who the future is. Braun Breaker went to get in Oba's face with Paul Heyman, then stepping in and saying, you take one more step towards Oba, it's a step you take away from me. Giving Breaker some pause. But that was where this all comes into play. Because then Paul Heyman said, you have to know where the money is. We don't just give away impromptu matches. Paul Heyman, who has been part of the WWE hype machine for both of these men, said, I spoke with Adam Pearce today. Sunday night, September the 6th, Atlanta, Georgia. Your hometown, Braun. You're going to go one-on-one with Obafemi. We're not going to have an impromptu match to determine the future. Ladies and gentlemen, let's be very fair. I have sat here in this studio and I have said Braun Breaker is going to be one of the most divisive wrestlers in the next 10 years of WWE. We're going to hear the let's go Braun Breaker sucks. Obafemi, I don't see it for. Obafemi is going to be much like a Brock Lesnar. He is going to be universally beloved by the audience, even if we're booing him. I don't like it for Oba, but you know what? You're going to get that straight up clarity on who Obafemi is. Obafemi is that next beast. He is that next monster. He is the next big thing. So where does Braun slot in? And I don't think that this is a match that needs to be rushed. So I agree with them taking the time, but I still think Sunday night's main event is too soon. I don't think that Obafemi and Braun Breaker should be facing off now. I do think that maybe, just maybe, you move one of them to SmackDown. Each of these men are very capable of holding the title. Both of these men are former NXT champions. And guess what? Now, all of a sudden, you get Braun Breaker, Obafemi, both as champions for Crown Jewel a year from now. 1,000% give me that match. I think that right now it's a little bit too soon, though I understand and I can agree with the booking. Maybe you go from here. You then wait until the Royal Rumble. You then wait until WrestleMania. You wait until SummerSlam next year to truly get that defining match. And I'm not saying you need to book those 3 matches. Maybe you do WrestleMania and then you do SummerSlam. Or you do SummerSlam and then, yes, you do Crown Jewel. But this needs to be that introductory match for both of these men. Not we're booking to see who is the future of the WWE. Both of these men are going to do amazing things throughout their career. But ladies and gentlemen, we have to ask, where does Paul Heyman's allegiance lie? Does it lie with Braun Breaker, a man he has managed within the Vision, the man he brought to the Vision? Does it lie with Obafemi, who he does see as the next big thing, the man who has replaced Brock Lesnar as the beast of WWE? Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be right back because we could need some help, and I have some ideas that I would love to bounce off of people on this show, so we could use your help.
A Turnbuckle affiliation program is looking for more people. If you have passion level for pro wrestling, sports, video games, or something else, then Turnbuckle Studios is the place to be. If you have ever wanted to pursue content creation and want to join our team, then we would love to have you. Check out turnbucklestudios.org or contact us by email today because your future is now, and we want you to tap in.
Ladies and gentlemen, turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle affiliation program. If you have ever wanted your break in podcasting, content creation, or to help us out behind the scenes, hit the join button. Send us your credentials via email. Tell us how you believe you can help us, how you feel we can help you. We will sit down as a collective and find the right fit. All of that and so much more at turnbucklestudios.org. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we continue on with our look back at Monday Night Raw. We had a second match in the Contenders Tournament for Lucha Libre to see who will face Roman Reigns on September 14th from Mexico City. And we had Dragon Lee versus El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. For those of you that don't know what El Hijo del means, it is the son of. So yes, this was Dragon Lee versus the son of Dr. Wagner. So, this match was a little bit slower, but ladies and gentlemen, once again, both again, fantastic wrestlers. I have watched both of them for quite some time. Dragon Lee came over from AEW, but I've been watching him in AAA. I've watched him in WWE. I watched him quite closely because these luchadors can do things I could only dream of. And I mean, I'd have to drop 100 pounds to be able to even consider doing that stuff. But a great match, great direction, great story told. Dragon Lee came out on top, and we know that he has history with Penta, Phoenix, the LWO, which I think has been sort of pushed to the wayside. Unless there is a need for a resurgence of it in AAA. Dr. Wagner is an established, very, very credible name, and I absolutely, absolutely love it. This wasn't your typical lucha match, though. Yes, we got the high flying, but it started off slow. A little bit of pacing instead of just acrobatic move after acrobatic move. And I am here for that, ladies and gentlemen. When the psychology, when a story can truly be told between two guys who know each other quite well, then give me that over just banger after banger after banger. So, Dragon Lee comes out on top. Is it really any surprise that you've had Penta advance, you've got Rey Fenix advancing, you've got Dragon Lee advancing? In fact, we're going to cover the semifinal matches for tomorrow in just a little while. But they gave Dr. Wagner the opportunity to shine. So if we are going to see more participation from AAA on the main roster, give it to me because I am here and I am ready for it. Do we get more main roster going to NXT? Going to AAA? I am here for it. And don't forget to check out AAA Sundays or Saturday nights at 10 p.m. on YouTube on WWE's channel. Dragon Lee, again, another guy who should be positioned for the Intercontinental Championship. We talked about it with JD. We talked about it with Javon Evans. And yes, I know that all three of these men were positioned at WrestleMania to battle Penta. But now they seem to have fallen by the wayside, so to speak, as far as the Intercontinental Championship and Intercontinental Championship contention. And I don't necessarily like it. Maybe you need to start, and I know I've said it before, because you need to rebuild the tag division as well. But you can do that and still have some of these singles guys contend for that Intercontinental Championship. Because the tag team division is literally looking to be potentially more people just thrown together instead of these established tag teams. Like the Creed brothers, who we need to see. I just mentioned the LWO. Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde. Where have they been besides AAA? Los Americanos. Or the New Catch Republic. Whichever version of them you want to give us. Give us. But let's rebuild with these established teams instead of just two guys who we didn't have anything for, so we're going to throw them together. Our main event match of the night continued Chad Gable's redemption story and his redemption arc as he defended the Intercontinental Championship against AAA's general manager, the greatest mask of all time himself, Rey Mysterio. What a match. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we had good, solid matches throughout the night. This match was clearly your match of the night. A former Olympian, pound for pound, the best wrestler in the WWE, taking on the GOAT. Two guys similar size. Rey Mysterio, who is a veteran of 50 years? Probably not quite, but there's nothing Rey can't do. He can wrestle, he can fly, he can pound, he can do it all. We saw him go for the 619, which he hit, but then Gable blocks the splash with the knees. Gable gets the ankle lock on. This was a catch as catch can, counter for counter, move for move, hold for hold. In the end, Chad Gable retained clean, which is all a part of this redemption arc and his new respect for AAA and Lucha Libre. And we got the respect afterwards, not only the handshake, but Rey Mysterio putting the Intercontinental Championship on Chad's waist. Chad Gable was already legitimate. Does this legitimize him, give him even more credibility to have the stature of Rey Mysterio, who is a WWE Hall of Famer, who is a AAA Hall of Famer, strap the belt on? I do believe so, but I think that there are guys there, and I don't want to see this be a transitional championship reign, which I don't believe it is for Chad Gable. I hope if he keeps it through December, you could have him lose the match, lose the belt at the Rumble or in the new year, potentially at WrestleMania. But there are so many worthy worthy competitors for that Intercontinental Championship. All right, ladies and gentlemen, blood feuds. We talked about it, and now we talk about the bloodline. Roman Reigns came to the ring, Jacob Fatu in tow. He called the Usos after doing Buffalo, Acknowledge Me, to bring Solo out and return him to the family. We had seen LA Knight get in the Usos' face, get in Solo's face, staring him down after everything that happened. Solo begrudgingly walked out with the Usos to be berated by Roman Reigns, who told him, the sight of you just pisses me off. You will fall in line, Solo. You're coming back to the family. You're going to do as you're told. It is your job to serve this family. He didn't say serve me, but serve this family. LA Knight came out, got in the faces of everybody as well, before eating a Tongan death grip from Jacob Fatu, which Roman backed off himself and said, no, you leave LA Knight. He's mine. You leave him for me. But he then forced the Usos to pick up the fallen LA Knight. Told Solo to spike him. Do it. Serve your family. Solo yelling at LA Knight, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And as Solo reared the spike back, he delivers it to Roman Reigns. Solo then fights off the Usos by himself until LA Knight can recover, and the two of them take them out and stare defiantly at Jacob. But let's not forget there's a very critical point in all of this, because not only did Roman tell Jacob to back off and he would handle it, he gave the Usos their own Ulafalas. We've seen Roman wearing the red one. We've seen him give Jacob an Ulafala when he welcomed him to the bloodline. But he made the Usos captains. After Jacob had said, I am not going to follow the Usos. I follow the OTC. I don't take orders from you. And then referred to the Usos as made men. So, is the bloodline Roman and the Usos, or is it everybody, every member of the Samoan dynasty? But they looked at Jacob as he stood defiantly in the corner and didn't do anything to attack Solo or LA Knight when they made their way out of the ring after they fist bumped. So where do we go with all of that? What is going to happen tomorrow night? Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back to preview Monday Night Raw and everything that is going to happen. But ladies and gentlemen, before we do, I want you to check out all of our incredible programming here at the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday night, we are on call as the Raw Patrol is on duty at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday, we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursdays, let us power your dreams with the Xbox Showcase at 9 p.m. Friday, we invite you to come for a ride with the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday, be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. And later in the day, the Locker Room presents Rasslin Recap Delivers at 7 p.m. Always be aware that weekend shows can vary in times, as the PLE Patrol and other watch party streams are always a must-see. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day, and watch all of the latest episodes on turnbucklestudios.org/shows. And please do not forget to drop a like, follow, and to subscribe to all of our channels, and when the time is right, all you have to do is tap in.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. And there is something for you each and every night of the week, which you can find under the shows section. But we want you to meet the team behind those shows. Myself, Chris Best, Bubba Duke, Logan Thompson, Chris Parrish, and of course the Godfather, Carl Carafel. Click on our individual links in the hosts section to get our socials so you can interact with us on the socials, as well as watch our latest weekly live episodic programs. All of that and more at turnbucklestudios.org. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Monday Night Raw tomorrow night comes to us from the capital city of Canada, my nation's capital, Ottawa, Ontario, with a special start time of 6 p.m. Eastern. And tomorrow night, we are going to get the two semifinal matches from the number one contenders tournament to determine who will face Roman Reigns September 14th in Mexico City. And let's start that off because we are going to see Penta versus La Parka, the dancing skeleton, the man who at one time was known as the chairman of Lucha Libre. Ladies and gentlemen, a fantastic match built to come here, and I will not be surprised if Penta wins. But La Parka, the only AAA representative to make it through to the semifinals. But I'm left wondering, where was the NXT participation in all of this? Because that's what we were told. We know that worlds will collide between NXT, AAA, and TNA. But where was the NXT representation? And I know they don't have a true luchador, but maybe this was a situation where you should have put a guy like a Cruz Montana into this tournament. Maybe this was how you could have had Grayson Waller from NXT truly make an effect. But Penta versus La Parka, unless they really, really want to throw us a swerve, I do believe that Penta is going to come out of this match victorious and head to the finals a week from tomorrow. In the other semifinal, Rey Fenix versus Dragon Lee. Ladies and gentlemen, sign me up, because I think that this match is going to absolutely steal the show. We've seen these two guys go at it before, but these two guys are absolutely going to blow the roof off of the Canadian Tire Center. And if I hadn't just done a trip a couple of weeks ago, I probably would have tried to fly to Ottawa to visit family there and go to this show myself. But if they're not building to Penta versus Fenix in the final, and again, this is where they could throw us a swerve and we could see out La Parka versus Dragon Lee, but I do believe we are going to get Penta versus Fenix in the final of this tournament. And I'm not going to complain about it, ladies and gentlemen. I like the idea. In fact, maybe, just maybe, you don't get either of them winning. Because just maybe this is where you have them both taken out by somebody, and all of a sudden we get the reunion that we didn't know we needed. We get the Lucha Brothers reuniting as a tag team. Who can take them both out to maybe make that a question? American Made? Los Americanos Hermanos? New Catch Republic? Or Los Americanos? There are a number of ways you can go to truly build to that reunion moment. Maybe you do go with the straight up winner with the bloodline costing them. And then you get the Lucha Brothers versus the Usos, and tell me who wouldn't want to see that match. I said we would talk about it a little bit later. We get Stephanie Vicare's first match since the night after WrestleMania, as she goes one-on-one with the Judgment Day's Roxanne Perez. Perez, of course, we know what she is capable of. She is the prodigy. She is my pick to win Money in the Bank. And maybe, like I said, you have Stephanie or Becky or somebody else with the title instead of Liv, and it's Roxanne who cashes in on that. But this is Stephanie's return match. We know that Roxanne is going to be flanked with Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez at ringside. I'm sure that we're going to have Becky Lynch get involved. Something tells me that we're going to have this match. We're going to have Vicare versus Rodriguez next week. We're going to have the tag match. We're going to have Vicare versus Rodriguez for the Intercontinental Championship. In fact, don't be surprised if we have, when Stephanie Vicare takes on Raquel, you could get that in Chile and have Stephanie win the Intercontinental Championship there. But do not be surprised if we have Stephanie Vicaire versus Liv Morgan, champion versus champion. I want Raquel to have a steady and consistent run with that Intercontinental Championship, and I want her to carry it for a while, but in this situation, it might make sense to have Stephanie go into that match champion versus champion. Hell, have either Stephanie or Liv win both belts, and then you can vacate the title. Maybe that's what you do. You have that Intercontinental Championship vacated, and now all of a sudden your Money in the Bank winner is your Intercontinental Champion. I would be great with something like that. Maybe the most overused segment in WWE today, we get a contract signing. Obafemi, Braun Breaker for Sunday night's main event. Is this something we really need, ladies and gentlemen? In this case, yes. But in this situation, do not have Adam Pearce moderate it. Do not have Triple H moderate it. In this situation, there is only one man who can moderate this to keep the peace. Paul Heyman needs to moderate it because he needs to keep Braun Breaker's temperature in check. He needs to keep Obafemi's power in check. And that is how you will keep the peace, keep the build for this. You can get physicality in a week or two, but ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow night during the contract signing, that is all it is. They come face to face, you have them shake hands, and then that is it. And that is all. You don't need the physicality tomorrow, though I do believe we will get it. Ladies and gentlemen, that covers Monday Night Raw for this past week. Now, in just a few minutes, we are going to look at SmackDown. But before we do, ladies and gentlemen, I need you to check out our shop.
The Turnbuckle Studios store is open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the merch and represent the best from the shows you watch on a weekly basis. Multiple styles to choose from with over 10 products available. Don't get left out and pick up all your favorites today. Find us at turnbucklestudios.org.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program, and we implore you to check out our shop. It is powered by redbubble.com, so it is 100% safe and secure. Support your favorite shows and your favorite podcasters. Wear what we wear. All of the proceeds come back into our studios to bring you a better experience. And when you make that purchase, tag us on the socials that you find under the host section. Send us a picture. Let us know what you bought, and we will give you a shout out live right here on air during one or more of our weekly programs. And ladies and gentlemen, SmackDown came to us from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, again, I would have been there if I could have been there. But this was an action-packed show and a lot to get off our chest. I always miss the first 20 minutes of the show because I am at work until 8 p.m. So this show kicked off with Sami Zayn yelling at Nick Aldis, saying, "Why am I not in this match? This should be my match. I do have an obligated rematch." And he should be there. Aldis, he blamed, laying blame when we had found out that they had been negotiating the match for KO and his return at SummerSlam for a few months. But yes, blaming, saying you allowed for Gunther and KO to come into my match. But yes, but then Randy Orton shows up, Cody shows up, and it's bedlam to start the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Aldis then had to tell Randy Orton and Cody, "No, I'm tired of putting our officials in danger with you two. So if either of you get physical before your match at Sunday night's main event, the match is off." I love Sami Zayn, but I am tired of him whining and blaming everybody else. Starting to sound like Drew McIntyre or Judgment Day Finn Balor. Sammy, put up or shut up. You've got a broken hand, get back in the ring and fight. It's a hand. We've seen Cowboy Bob do it. We've seen The Undertaker do it. We've seen so many people wrestle with broken bones and all of that. Get in the ring and do it. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, Monday or Friday Night SmackDown was being billed for KO versus CM Punk in our main event, and that was a hell of a match, which we will get to. But we had the new WWE Tag Team Champions, the MFTs, Tama and Tala Tonga, defending their Tag Team Championships against Damian Priest and R-Truth. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, this was a physical match, a physical encounter. I love it. Yes, the MFTs, the Sons of Haku, won the match. But again, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't see him. I didn't see him present at ringside. Where is Haku? When you have a guy who is that vicious, that devious, managing you, and you are his sons, have him at ringside. Have him create havoc. This is one of the most vicious men in all of wrestling. The MFTs retained by pinning R-Truth. And ladies and gentlemen, Priest visibly frustrated, went in the ring, picked up his partner. I had called for it. I fully expected the Priest heel turn. Yes, he hugged his partner, but also let R-Truth walk out, and you could see the frustration visibly on Priest's face. This is something we have seen before, and I think maybe it's time for those two to go their separate directions. need the comedy of R-Truth in other positions on Monday Night Raw or on SmackDown. And you need Priest to be focusing on his singles career. And with some distractions, there is an open path to CM Punk. There is an open path to Mr. Parrish, Mr. Best. Who is our SmackDown US champion? I can't even remember offhand. So there is, Baron Corbin. So there you go. You've got that path. If you want to keep Damian Priest face, you can have him go after a Baron Corbin. I love it. It's somebody new. It's a new face in the picture. Damian Priest versus Trick Williams, if you want to go with Priest as the heel. Sign me up. This is what we need. But ladies and gentlemen, we still have to figure out who's next for the MFTs, and we will find out about that a little bit later on in the show. The debut that wasn't. After we had a month and a half of vignettes, one backstage appearance, mocking Chelsea Green, more vignettes, and a bunch of sneak attacks in the locker room, regardless of who it was. We were set to see the debut of Blake Monroe, as we had found out the previous Friday after SmackDown went off the air, when Nick told her, we're going to see your debut. She wanted Chelsea Green, of course, so she was anticipating waiting. And Julia stepped up. And Julia was one of the victims of that sneak attack. And I say it's the debut that wasn't, because as Julia made her way to the ring, we got exactly that. We got the sneak attack in the aisle that led to the ring before the match even started. Blake Monroe, the Glamour, hitting that high knee on Julia, left her laying before she walked out. I hate to say it, guys, but I am getting Fandango vibes from Blake Monroe. And I don't want this to be a situation where they rushed her up to the main roster from NXT too soon. I'm going to call it, because I do believe that they botched Jordan Grace's run in NXT. I don't think they've done enough with Ricky Saints since bringing him up. I don't think they've done enough. I think that Blake Monroe's debut should have been a while ago. I know that there was talk of, they wanted her versus Tiffany Stratton at SummerSlam for the U.S. title. You lost 2 matches on SummerSlam. You could have had Tiffany and Blake for the U.S. championship. You could have had Charlotte and Jade one-on-one. And yet you put Tiffany, Charlotte, and Jade into the interim women's championship ladder match. You could have given us 2 fantastic women's matches. You could have had Blake Monroe as your new U.S. women's champion. But I'm glad that they did go to JC Jane at that point afterwards. But is this the start of a blood feud for Blake Monroe? We go backstage again and we see Randy Orton confronting CM Punk, saying, yeah, I'm coming for you and I am coming for my 15th title. Great. What then? Then we hear from Trick Daddy, Mr. Lemon Peppa Steppa himself, Trick Williams with Little Yachty. And he calls out Baron Corbin saying, I want a rematch. Corbin rightly said, you had your match at SummerSlam. You lost. You had your rematch. You lost. Get to the back of the line. There's other contenders. Oh, and by the way, the title is getting a haircut, which, thank you, Baron. Thank you. I don't need a fuzzy title. I don't care who it's for. I don't care what it's for. But finally, Baron said, or they got in the ring, it got physical. After Little Yachty hit Corbin with the trick stick, Corbin said, okay, fine. You want your rematch, you get it. But only if Little Yachty can survive 5 minutes in the ring with me at Sunday night's main event. We discussed this on the SmackDown security detail. I still see Little Yachty as that celebrity, but I see him making the effort and making the weekly appearances, doing everything he can, and trying to get his contract renewed. So I'm going to give Little Yachty a whole lot of credit in this situation. Do I hope Little Yachty gets that? No. Do I hope Little Yachty survives the 5 minutes? No. But I see him doing it. I see Corbin retaining the title over Trick after a Little Yachty heel turn. Because Little Yachty still reminds me of a sitcom dad, and that would truly establish Trick as a baby face, because I still see him as this in-betweener, because you've got a hype man and Trick needs to figure out who he truly is. If he wants a hype man, somebody in his corner, we've talked about needing tag teams. What about the Trick Mellow gang reuniting? You've got two guys who can both go singles, get the singles title, support each other, but also contend for the tag team titles. Give me that type of a pairing. I'm all for it. A match that I don't know if it was really needed, but given everything that has been going on with Chelsea Green since winning the interim women's championship, or now being your official WWE women's champion, and needing to get herself medically cleared from a broken orbital bone, we had Tiffany Stratton take on Lash Legend. We know that Tiffany and Chelsea have had a budding friendship and a budding tag team. We know that Lash Legend and Nia Jax, the Irresistible Forces, are an established tag team and former tag team champions. Nia is also a former women's champion, and she was fantastic in that role. But it is time for Lash to really step out of Nia's shadow and become the future. And with this matchup against Tiffany Stratton, she did exactly that. Lash Legend went one-on-one with Tiffany Stratton in what was a semi-squash match. We know that Tiffany was injured prior last week to losing the U.S. Championship. So this really, really made sense to have Tiffany harbor that injury and continue to sell it. And then you get the beat down afterwards as Nia Jax came in. And then you get Chelsea, who is not cleared for action, running to the ring in knee-high boots, avoiding the clothesline and using a kendo stick, getting physical. Loved it because this is a way to keep Chelsea protected and not taking the physical shots to the face to protect that orbital bone, allowing her to remain a part of the action and really, really endearing herself to everybody. But if Chelsea can't get cleared, and I'm going to give Chris Parrish the full credit, are they gearing up to maybe have Tiffany take the reins for a bit? Because she's a former champion, and she never really got her rematch for that championship. And I think that would be that credibility. And then, I mean, just imagine Tiffany versus Rhea versus Chelsea versus Nia. When it happens, and I could see it happening later than sooner, of course, but we will just have to wait and see. Prior to this, though, we also saw Paige offer an alliance to them because she needed needs some backup potentially to go against Nikki and whatever Nikki could have lined up. We need to keep Paige and Nikki Bella as far away from this as possible. Yes, I want to see Paige in the ring, but we need to get Paige and Nikki one-on-one. Let's just have it. Do it on a SmackDown because it's not a Saturday night's main event type of match. It's not a PLE type of match. But just give us the match. It might be a case of get it out of the way, but I know that if Nikki is looking to have some backup with Brie out, she might look to Nia and Lash. And then she can become their mouthpiece, so you go to Paige. Okay, but still not my cup of tea. I'd rather just get that match done, out of the way. And ladies and gentlemen, your main event from Friday Night SmackDown. Kevin Owens, Canadian from Montreal, made his return at SummerSlam and won the number one contenders match. His last match prior to that was at the Elimination Chamber in Toronto, which I was there to see. So that was why he wanted this match here. Punk won the match in Chicago for the title. So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. The story writes itself. And that's not to mention the history and the grudge that Kevin Owens has harbored towards CM Punk for 20 years. And ladies and gentlemen, holy shit, what a match it was. These two beat the living hell out of each other, and I absolutely loved it. I was enthralled with the match, and I, like everybody else, wanted Kevin Owens to win, but I knew it just wasn't going to happen. And I mean, in your second match back, you're to hotshot a guy, but you also had his best friend and, well, blood feud, who was pissed off. Well, we found out what that was going to be, didn't we? Because Sami Zayn hopped the barricade after the ref was out, threw CM Punk into the ring steps, threw CM Punk into the ring to eat the stunner, but the ref was out. Sami Zayn then handed Kevin Owens the title, saying, lay waste to him, level him. Kevin Owens said no. Kevin Owens said, look, there may be history there, but I'm going to do this on my own. Put the title back in Sami's hands, saying, no, let me do this. Sami then proceeds to clock KO with the title. For the first time in as long as I can remember, Sami Zayn solidifies his heel turn and is the one to turn heel on Kevin Owens. This pushed KO right into a go to sleep, and the ref recovered in time to count the 3 to make CM Punk the victor and still your undisputed WWE champion. At that point, you had KO sitting on the outside of the ring, frustrated. Sami Zayn sitting frustrated on a different side of the ring. But Sami then goes back into the ring and does the same thing with the title, clocking CM Punk with it. This, as tired as I am of KO and Sami, this is a blood feud for the ages. I talked earlier about the women of the Judgment Day being able to do this. I think now you could be looking at a potential complete oddball men's team of CM Punk, Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, and whoever they might need to take on Sami Zayn, Gunther, Randy Orton, and whoever they may have. There's a second men's war game match because you can look to the Bloodline versus Solo, LA Knight. I'm going to say Jacob Fatu versus Roman and the Usos, and whichever two sides those guys might need. And then, of course, let's not forget you do have Fatal Influence, Nia, and Lash. You can go 4 War Games matches, one night, and there is your PLE. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time around, I am going to run the ads for you here, and then we will come back to preview SmackDown for this coming Friday.
A Turnbuckle affiliation program is looking for more people. If you have passion level for pro wrestling, sports, videos, games, or something else, then Turnbuckle Studios is the place to be. If you have ever wanted to pursue content creation and want to join our team, then we would love to have you. Check out turnbucklestudios.org or contact us by email today because your future is now, and we want you to tap in.
The Turnbuckle Studios store is open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the merch and represent the best from the shows you watch on a weekly basis. Multiple styles to choose from with over 10 products available. Don't get left out and pick up all your favorites today. Find us at turnbucklestudios.org.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday night, we are on call as the Raw Patrol is on duty at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday, we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursdays, let us power your dreams with the Xbox Showcase at 9 p.m. Friday, we invite you to come for a ride with the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday, be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. And later in the day, the Locker Room presents Rasslin Recap delivers at 7 p.m. Always be aware that weekend shows can vary in times, as the PLE Patrol and other watch party streams are always a must-see. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day and watch all of the latest episodes on turnbucklestudios.org/shows. And please do not forget to drop a like, follow, and to subscribe to all of our channels, and when the time is right, all you have to do is tap in.
And once again, ladies and gentlemen, turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. Everything you need is right there. All of the shows, the hosts, how to join us. And please, we implore you to hit that join button, as well as our shop. So, do yourselves a favor. Turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. Check it out. Check out each and every one of us here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have a whole lot to give you for next week, but we do know that Tatum Paxley on SmackDown will make her debut as she goes one-on-one with Michin. This is very, very interesting because this is all stemming from Tatum Paxley's debut to allow Charlotte to pick up that victory over Jade Cargill, and we know that whole feud is budding. And ladies and gentlemen, we fully expect to hear from the MFTs and find out who may be next for them, and whether it's Shinsuke Nakamura and whose new tag team partner Kyoki, or potentially the War Raiders, or somebody else. As well, ladies and gentlemen, Cody and Randy, they have to keep away from each other, but do not expect, or they have to stay, they can't get physical with each other, but fully expect them to get in each other's face in a verbal joust. And what is going to happen with Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and CM Punk? I fully expect to hear from all three of them next Friday night, right here on SmackDown. And we will have all of the results next week for you at the same bat time, same bat channel here at the Locker Room. And ladies and gentlemen, that does it for us here tonight. As always, I remind you, the world is better with you in it. From myself, from the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program, and everybody here at Turnbuckle Studios, to those of you out there wherever you are, good night, good luck, I'm out.
In the locker room, a guy you'll find loves bad hockey, teams can't deny. His best friend is just a hand so true, loyal until his friend goes number two. During the heat of the game, it's clear he's a champ when all else disappears. Rally the team with a wink and a cheer. He's the leader that everyone fears.